The imperial throne room of Vexa Prime had witnessed 1,000 surrenders, but never a spectacle like this. Kara stood in chains before Emperor Thaxaron, her diplomatic insignia torn from her uniform. Around her feet, 7 predator cubs, each no taller than her waist, formed a protective circle, their razor-sharp teeth bared, their eyes blazing with feral defiance. They were Vexalian young, apex predators whose species had conquered half the known galaxy, and they were protecting a human. Impossible, Thaxaron hissed from his obsidian throne, his 4 eyes narrowing. My own children defend this. This prey creature? Drax, the eldest cub, stepped forward. His silver fur bristled, and though his voice hadn't yet deepened with age, it carried the unmistakable growl of Vexalian nobility. She speaks for us, father, and we will not let you silence her. The court gasped. Royal guards tensed, claws extending from their gauntlets. But none dared move, not against the Emperor's own offspring. Kara had arrived on Vexa Prime 3 cycles ago as Earth's ambassador, tasked with an impossible mission: negotiate for the freedom of human colonies trapped in Vexalian territory. The Empire viewed humans as weak, soft-skinned creatures fit only for labor or amusement. Her diplomatic credentials meant nothing here. But then she met the cubs. They had been relegated to the palace educational wing, where young Vexalians learned the arts of war and dominion. Kara discovered them during a forced tour, meant to intimidate her with displays of Vexalian might. Instead, she found children, brilliant, curious, and desperately lonely. The Empire's elite were too busy conquering to raise their young. Cubs were left with combat instructors and tactical algorithms, taught that strength was everything and compassion was weakness. Drax and his siblings had never heard a bedtime story. They'd never played a game that didn't involve simulated killing. They'd never been told they were loved. Kara had done what humans do best. She cared. She told them stories of Earth, not tales of human military victories, but stories of families, of sacrifice, of people who protected the weak instead of consuming them. She taught them games where everyone could win. She answered their endless questions about her prey species with patience and honesty. And when Drax asked her why humans would die for strangers, she had simply said, because everyone deserves someone who will stand for them. Now, those words echoed in the throne room. You dare threaten your emperor? Thaxaron rose, his massive frame casting shadows across the polished floor. You are children. I am the devourer of worlds, the unmaker of... You are our father. The smallest cub, Liz, cried out. Her voice cracked with emotion, something Vexalians were trained to suppress. And you never once asked what we needed. She did. Kara felt her throat tighten. She'd known this moment was coming. 3 days ago, she'd been arrested for corrupting royal offspring after teaching the cubs about diplomacy and peaceful resolution. The Empire wanted her executed as an example. The cubs had other plans. Kara taught us that strength isn't just about conquest, Drax continued, his young voice steady. She showed us that protecting others, choosing mercy, takes more courage than destruction. You call humans prey, but they've survived extinction events, planetary catastrophes, and wars that would have broken lesser species. They survived because they refused to abandon each other. Thaxaron's claws scraped against his throne. Sentimental weakness, is it? Another cub, Vex, stepped forward. We studied human history in our tactical lessons. Do you know what happens when you corner them? When you threaten what they love? They don't surrender, father. They become more dangerous than any predator. The Emperor's tail lashed in agitation. Enough, guards, remove the human. Execute her at dawn. The guards moved forward. The cubs exploded into action. 7 young Vexalians, barely past their first molt, positioned themselves around Kara with military precision. Their claws extended, their juvenile fangs gleamed, and their growls harmonized into a sound that made even seasoned warriors hesitate. They were small, untrained in real combat, and facing the Empire's elite forces, they didn't care. You'll have to kill us first, Drax said quietly, and the Empire will know that their emperor murdered his own children to silence a diplomat. Is that the legacy of strength you want? Silence crashed through the throne room like a physical force. Thaxaron stared at his offspring, and for the first time in decades, uncertainty flickered across his features. He'd conquered planets, commanded fleets, and broken the will of countless species. But he'd never imagined his own cubs would choose death over obedience. Why? The word came out as barely a whisper. Why would you die for this human? Drax met his father's gaze without flinching. Because she taught us what you never could. That true strength means protecting those who cannot protect themselves. That power without compassion is just cruelty. That we can be more than killers. She believed in us, Liz added, tears streaming down her furred face, when no one else did. The Emperor looked at Kara, really looked at her for the first time. She stood trembling but unbowed, surrounded by children who loved her enough to face execution. This small, weak human had accomplished what no military force had ever managed. She'd changed the hearts of Vexalian royalty. Thaxron slowly sat back down. "Release her, father, release her!" The Emperor's voice boomed, but it carried a different weight now, not just authority but something resembling respect. "And summon the diplomatic council. If 7 cubs can teach this old predator about courage, perhaps it's time the Empire learned about diplomacy." As guards removed Kara's chains, Drax pressed against her side, his purr of relief vibrating through her body. The other cubs crowded close, their earlier ferocity melting into childish need for reassurance. Kara wrapped her arms around them, these deadly predators who'd chosen love over fear. "Thank you," she whispered. Drax looked up at her with ancient wisdom in his young eyes. "You gave us a voice. We just used it." In the annals of galactic history, that day would be remembered as the moment the Vexalian Empire began its transformation, not through war or conquest, but because 7 cubs snarled in defense of a human diplomat who'd shown them that the greatest predators are those who choose mercy. And at the center of it all was Kara, small, unarmed, and absolutely terrifying in the way only humans can be when they decide someone is worth saving.